All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. All right, here we go again. It's a Sunday, so honest Mike Johnson not making the rounds, saying that this big ugly bill of Trump's is not going to add to the deficit or threaten to or take away the health care of millions and millions of Americans that are on Medicaid. The guy is lying to our faces. That's all this regime does. I'm joined by Brock Ganeles from the beautiful Hudson Valley, just north of New York City. Brock, how goes it?
I'm doing well today, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't see Mike Johnson. I didn't watch the Sunday shows or any of the clips today yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it interesting that it was Mike Johnson out doing the rounds again, because I feel like he was out doing the rounds 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it makes me wonder, did the shows really want him back? Did they think he was the guy that was going to get him the best ratings? Or on the MAGA side of things, do the other representatives not want to do those rounds right now? And Mike's got to be like, all right, I guess I'm the speaker. I got to go do this again. Because to me, that sounds like Groundhog Day. Now that you know what I'm talking about, but it sounds like a Groundhog Day from just a couple weeks ago where Mike Johnson did the rounds and lied and said those same two things. So it doesn't seem like those shows could have been that compelling today.
Well, here's the thing. Those town halls that they tried to put up are not going well. You can't put Joni Ernst up. She just made a fucking fool out of herself, reminding people that we're all going to die. Who wants to die tomorrow? These people are so tone deaf and they have no connection to real America. But yet, because they represent individuals from what is, middle America, real America, they feign that kind of, caring for those folks in middle America. And they couldn't give a shit about it, right? Because they're all so far removed from everyday Americans, from Americans living check to check. They don't get it. And they don't get why, so many people need this kind of government assistance. And it's annoying. It is First of all, it's a huge slap in the face. Like, where have you been, under a rock all your life? Do you not? I mean, have you
It's an
not?
amazing commentary from a politician who, by the way, is up for re-election in 2026. So this can't help her. But then she doubled down and did like her own TikTok or Instagram live or something where she walked through a cemetery and mocked the criticism of her commentary, as if like she was educating the Iowa citizenry about death, and that, and really like making a joke about her comment, which was kind of absurd because she's trying to defend Medicaid. Mike Johnson's lying about it on the TV shows, but like I think the rank and file, even in Iowa, rank and file person is realizing that their health care is going to go down. So yeah, we're all going to die, Joni Ernst, but the increase in life expectancy has been one of the great achievements of modern medicine and modern life. We're all living longer. So we really don't care to go back to the 1720s or something where maybe the average life expectancy was 38 years old. We're pretty happy that it's in the high 70s, even though, RFK Jr. is trying to drag it down.
Yeah, he's doing a good job too. But yeah, Joni Ernst is one of those people who, just proves to us every day what a moron she is. I mean, she can't possibly get out of her own way. I don't understand how a woman like this becomes a U.S. senator. I mean, where is that maternal gene, that sense of caring, that innate sense of, let me put my arms around you and give you a hug. It's going to be okay. Like there is nothing, remotely, soothing about her, right? Like some of the qualities that you would look for in a woman, like she possesses none of them. And she's just grimy about it. And it's we've seen it in the gun with the gun shootings. When they had the shooting in Nashville, she was about as cold-hearted as any representative
I
could
mean,
be.
they've decided compassion is a weakness, caring about other people is a weakness, and you just got to show their idea of strength is just to be crass, barrel through topics. They've learned from Trump to never apologize for anything, so they'll just do the double down. I mean, she's white in a predominantly white state, 95% white state, quote, conservative, racist state, MAGA state. I mean, she probably feels really increasingly comfortable in her seat. I mean, shit, Chuck Grassley's what, 95 years old on his like ninth term. So Joni Ernst probably figures I can do whatever the fuck I want and I'm just going to keep getting elected. And as people get older, they become less mentally disciplined and they start saying what they really think. And you hear more and more about their true feelings.
Right, right. And she's talking about, those who want to see Christ to embrace, you know, who want eternal and everlasting life to go ahead and embrace Christ. It's really because, if that's how you really feel, why did you make the first statement in the first place? Why didn't you say that instead of saying, "Oh, you're all gonna die anyway. We're all gonna
Yeah,
die."
it seemed like a throwaway line. She like
Yeah,
really didn't know
yeah.
where to go.
She didn't.
I think she'll get away with it, that this may be a story for 24, 48 hours and then it'll fade
Right,
to black. But hopefully there's a good candidate running against her in Iowa who can at least, embarrass her in the in the
right.
election. Maybe there's enough anger. We won't know till we get there, right? If we ever get there. If there's enough anger that
Right,
translates from those town halls to the actual voting booth, I'm not optimistic. I think the racism will still have them pulling the MAGA lever, even if they
right,
hate every other policy. But
right.
it does remind me. It reminds me of another story I saw yesterday where a woman in Missouri doing one of those. We didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for moms in the
Right,
neighborhood to get deported. Not the moms didn't vote for this. I voted for all the rest of it, but I didn't
right.
want the mom in my neighborhood. So she thought she was voting for the ability to play God and decide who the good ones are.
Sure,
And she doesn't
sure.
like the fact that ICE doesn't differentiate and anyone who's brown is bad because that's what Donald Trump thinks. But at these I didn't vote for this. The question will be, when given the opportunity, will any of these people, if given the opportunity, will any of these MAGA voters actually pull a different lever
Yeah.
and vote for someone different next time? I mean, we're going to see.
Did you catch the ICE raid? Oh man, I've forgotten what city it's in. I posted it on my Facebook. I mean, you had um the typical scene, right? They don't go after MS-13. They don't go after the real gang members. They go after families. So they had a husband, they cuffed the wife and put the child in the back of the van. And you had, this community there, heartbroken, 6, 8 people on the sidewalk crying their eyes out. Obviously, some reporters had gotten a hold of it. They were out there with their phones taking video. And meanwhile, the guy from ICE has got his face covered up. All you can see is like the white skin, but his sunglasses and with his hat and his mask. And they're just totally covered up. They're not showing any kind of identification. They're not proving who they are. We don't know who these people are. We don't know if they're putting these women and children into trafficking. We don't know what's going on with them because they can't make a call, right? And it's again, it's about that cruelty, Brock. I keep saying it's cruelty for cruelty's sake, but they don't give a shit about human beings. And I just wonder, it's funny. I was watching the Netflix special on Vietnam. And back in the late 60s, early 70s, they were talking about the deep state. I was like, I had never heard of the deep state until it came from these Tea Party morons charging Barack Obama and, his secret society with making all these changes to America. But there are a lot of parallels between what we got engaged in with Vietnam and the overwhelming sentiment in the country. The difference is people were not willing to put up with the government lying to them, and they were willing to go out and make sacrifices. Remember, we talked about that last week. Americans are not willing to get out here and make sacrifices anymore. Nobody wants to die like they did on the campus of Kent State. But, these these are the times that call for the sacrifices that need to be made.
Well, these themes have been bubbling beneath the surface of the Republican Party, right? Trump's not that different. David Duke ran for, right?
Right,
George Wallace. Let's go back to the history, right? These themes have gone, have played their way through.
right,
And as much as who is the deep state, right? So now we have the ICE agents who won't identify themselves. I mean, this is like as big a disgrace as we've seen in our lifetime, right?
Yes.
No due process, being lied to about who's being picked up, human beings just being sent to facilities we have no idea about. And now the deportations continuing, where just today stories out about planes being flown once again to South Sudan. So now not as okay, not some US citizens, that's the most egregious offense, but others, human beings within the American borders have an expectation of a sense of justice and due process being
Right.
just carted up and shipped out to a country they're not even from.
Right.
Right?
I mean, it
Like
makes no
what
sense.
happens when you land in South Sudan if you're like Venezuelan or Honduran or Ecuadorian? Like, what are you doing there? Like, you don't have the currency. Like, where are you going? You don't know the language. You don't have the currency.
Right.
What safety do you have in that society?
And look, you're not even going to know where you are unless somebody is fortunate enough to tell you. You're just going to land after being on the plane for 10, 12, 15 hours. Who knows how many stops you've made before you actually get to South Sudan, right? Like, I mean, imagine the sheer terror that must run through a person.
Yeah, are they being sent to prisons or are they actually being freed when they land? I don't even know.
Right,
Does
right.
anybody know? No one's
No,
answering that question.
no, nobody's answering that question, and this regime is not going to tell us, right? They're doing as much as they can. Another similarity with that Vietnam era and now, not cooperating with the press. There were reports that the Kennedy administration said, hey, under no circumstances do we tell the press what is going on out there because we don't need them to know. They won't be able to understand it. And, the best of us can't understand exactly, what the conflict was about in the beginning and why America got involved into it, right? People still don't
We still don't
really
really
understand.
know.
Yeah, it's so convoluted, and it's so geopolitical that people really can't really grasp it. But this here, what we're dealing with, it's all about hate. It's all about racism and money, or money and racism, right? Because the racism leads to more money for these folks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the racism comes first because I think there's a lot of ways to make money and they can figure out a lot of. I think it's just a side benefit is the ability to also monetize it and have these private prisons and flow in billions of our tax dollars into these prisons that flow right back to Trump's coffers one way or another. And it's, we're basically handing the money to Trump so that he can, raid and deport brown people. But we have all these white voters saying that's not what I voted for. We had the guy in Tallahassee 2 days ago, didn't want his workers that were on the construction site pulled away. Not them.
Yeah,
Then you have the woman in Missouri. Then you have the woman in Missouri. No, not my neighbors, the good ones. No, they babysit my kids.
right, right, right. They clean our houses,
Yeah, they clean the
our
house.
lawns.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
shit.
who's going to get up on that roof and change that roof, right? These are all these companies using the immigrants' labor, right? Are now finding themselves, holy shit, what did I vote for? Right? These are good guys. Oh man, now I can't find anybody to get up on that roof, and I'm damn sure not doing it. These business owners are screwed. Around here, pool building is big business,
Yeah.
right? You got
Yeah.
nobody to build these pools. Tree trimming. Oh, Atlanta is infamous for its falling limbs and whatnot. So you
Same
gotta,
here. I gotta cut down like 5 trees this summer.
yeah, yeah,
Because
and
they're
it's not
old
cheap.
and now things are so much windier with these storms. Like we get
Yes,
huge winds up here, which we never got when we were growing up. But
right.
Mark, the other thing is like Musk was a fool, is a fool, got punched in the eyes, drug addict, didn't come close to the savings that he boasted about. Okay, so but with him, now it's just the quiet. It'll be Trump's probably regretting it a little bit because things maybe were a little too noisy and not his noise, right? Somebody else's noise. But now we're just going to have the quiet march of white supremacy day by day, a slower creep, maybe out of the media
Yep.
for the most part, but still grabbing our data, stripping away funding for be it the arts and education and small business programs that help minorities, like just little by, national parks now, land being given away, one of the, golden gooses of America,
Yeah.
right, was our national park system. That's going to just, that's being sold off to, whatever mining companies and drilling companies. So, but things that'll be less, kind of a less exciting stories than Elon Musk on
Right.
drugs in the Oval Office with his kid, like calling Trump an asshole and stuff like that, which
Right.
made for good TV. But now
Right.
we just won't have any eyes on it, and it'll be like the deportations that are just kind of happening in the dark. And I kind of worry about that.
Right. Because that's scary. Most people don't know about the Heritage Foundation and how scary these people really are and what kind of ideologues they are, right? And now they're working under the cover of darkness, right? Able to pull off all kinds of, cuts, and just the systematic dismantling of our democracy as we know it, which is they told us, right? If you read Project 2025, you can go online and read it. You can find it with a simple Google search, and you can read what they hope to achieve. And it's frightening when you read it, that somebody would put this on paper. And now here we are. We're undoing all the progress that's been made,
Yeah.
especially when you talk about, policing, community policing, reimagining the way we police. All that stuff's coming undone because all those consent decrees are being undone.
So I got a couple questions for the opposition, which I think we would consider ourselves in, right? So
Right.
I'll pose it to you. Because Malcolm Kenyatta spitting fire, like, got me a little bit excited this morning,
Yeah.
right? That he's out there, saying some shit. But is it woke to care about the deportations? Is it woke that I don't want to see primarily Latinos cuffed and thrown in the back of vans and then thrown into prisons and then deported from the country without due process? Is that too woke for, like, Alyssa Slotkin and other Democrats? Am I being too woke?
Well, that's why we're having this internal combustion right now, because all these people keep trying to pull us back to the middle, right? There is no middle anymore, right? I mean, if you really think about it, the middle, it can't win either way, right? You can't win on the middle if you're pulling from the right. You can't win in the middle if you're pulling from the left now, because it's just not possible to find common ground.
Is there a middle ground on these deportations? Is there a middle ground on due process? Is there
Boom.
middle ground on illegal deportations? Like, so am I woke because I'm a white guy who's, like, defending primarily brown people? Like, am I too woke for that message to win elections? And therefore, what's her name in South Carolina that wants to run around, Lindsey Graham, is like, I'm a reach across the aisle type. Like, what are you reaching for? The hand of the Nazis? Like, what hand are you reaching for?
Exactly. And to me, it's a compassionate human being. That's what a person who cares about others, right? Like, I mean, what difference does it make when we talk about humanity? Why are you interested in seeing people punished? It's funny too, because ever since the 80s, when they've been talking about these entitlements, healthcare, Social Security, I was like, why do Republicans not want people to have health care and to be able to stay healthy? I didn't realize back, when I was a senior in college, that it was all about money for the wealthiest, right? It was all about them being able to squeeze more out of what they've already got, right? And make more and take more. And now I understand it. It's just that they don't care, right? The Bezoses of the world, Zuckerbergs, they
Toxic
don't care
selfishness.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the toxic selfishness, exactly. They don't care. They could give a damn about anybody, because if they did care, they'd be trying to eradicate homelessness. They'd be working like Mr. Gates. You can criticize him too, but he does, have some initiatives that are geared toward helping humanity.
A lot. HIV, malaria. I mean, like, just some big stuff. I mean,
Right.
that's some big stuff. I
Right.
mean,
And
fucking
not
malaria. People are dying from mosquito bites. Jesus Christ, right? Like, imagine living where you have to have nets around you all the time. You have to worry about being outside and getting bit by a mosquito because it could be fatal, right? We don't worry about that in America, right? We sleep easy. We sleep easy at night. Not
Right.
worrying about that. No, Gates does a lot of good things. I always wonder about people that have and don't give. Like it's just an odd dynamic
Right.
to like.
And can I tell you a quick story? One of the reasons Jeff Foxworthy is one of my favorite entertainers is because I did an interview with him and his daughter. And his daughter was raising money to buy those anti-malaria mosquito nets to send, to disadvantaged countries and families so they could have these nets and be protected from malaria. This was 15 years ago. This was 15. It wasn't just that he was a nice guy, but he was well off and he was teaching his children the importance of giving back and caring about others, even others in places that we may not have been to and cannot really
I may
relate
never go to. Yeah.
and may never go to. Exactly. But that's why when you mentioned the malaria nets, that story came right back to my mind and why I love Jeff Foxworthy, right? Because he's a human being that's well off, that cares about others. Just happens to be a white guy, happens to be damn funny, right?
He is
But
funny.
that didn't matter to me.
So the second question I have on this topic of the opposition and when it's going to get fired up and when and is within Malcolm Kenyatta's spitting fire is his embracing of Pride Month. Now, I hope this is the most raucous, robust,
Please.
in your face, out there Pride Month in the history of Pride Months. I hope it's a big gala, third fiesta. But am I woke because I want LGBTQ Americans and people all over the world to just live a good life with the exact same rights and without the biases and just to be able to have the same, just to do whatever the fuck they want. And for someone like me not to give a shit and just allow them to live their best lives without anyone meddling and trying to set rules around it or denigrating them and just
Right.
embracing them for living a great life and, be like everybody else, right?
Yeah. And
Is that
again,
am I woke because I feel that way? Or am I only woke if I take that commentary and actually extend it out and make sure the trans in LGBTQ, that I really care about them as well?
right.
That I want trans people to also live a great life and not have to feel like that someone's going to put a gun to their head based upon what bathroom they go in, all the things that actually have no bearing on anyone else's life. But some people are making it their life's mission to make trans people miserable when it's already not a tough enough state of being to be in and to have to figure out your own self identity in that way. Am I too woke then? Can Alyssa Slotkin, she's not there in Pride Month, or she's LGBTQ and she's got to get the T out of there because that's a little too controversial? Like, am I just too woke? I don't know. Is that what happened to me? I became too woke.
Woke. You're not too woke. You're not too woke. I mean, for us to care about our neighbors, what difference does it make if they're gay? They're not making me gay by living next door to them, right? They're not trying to convert you, right?
They're
Because
knocking on
I
the
don't.
door, not knocking on the door, right? And giving you a speech about how you got to
Right.
find something.
It's not
I
that
got
doesn't happen. I've never had anybody knock on my door and try to explain to me why I should be. I mean, it makes no sense. Why does it matter to us so much who someone else loves? Why does it matter? Why can't we just wish them well and want them to be happy and live a normal life? Just like you and me, and have a mortgage and have health benefits, right? And be able to adopt children and be able to raise a family.
get married. Yeah.
Why shouldn't they be able to get
Yeah.
married?
Dive on in. Come on in. The
Yeah.
pool's full.
Always
Dive on
warm.
in. Good luck with it.
Right. And look, I'm so and look, we just had another attack on a trans woman who used the bathroom, came out of the was in a nightclub, came out and was assaulted by the owner of the nightclub. That just happened. It must have been either late last week, I believe. And is that what we want our society to be, as violent as possible against the people whom we see different? against the people who don't live, the same lifestyle as us.
It's the othering. That's why I'm such a stickler for like either you're fighting for everyone or you're fighting for no one. And I don't like the picking and choosing and deciding like, oh
Here we
well, I'll
go.
fight for the LGB and okay, all right. Give me the Q's, I'll take the Q's
Right.
also. But hey, the T, we got to get the T out of there, right? Like so it's just kind of the aggravation I'm finding with the middle of the roadism, the reach before the aisleism, the quote, let's meet people where they are. Oh, okay, I got to go meet them with their racism and their homophobia and their xenophobia. Well, that's where I got to go meet them.
Right.
I mean,
No.
yeah, like what's no, we have to defeat that thinking.
Right. Right.
Yes, try to open their hearts and minds, you have to defeat that. This is a fight. You have to fight for rights, and every time we don't fight for one group's rights, then then you get the slippery slope. Then whose rights do we not fight for next? Are we fighting for trans voting rights? They get to vote. Oh, we're okay with them voting. Black
Okay.
voting rights. Oh
One
well,
voting rights, not so much.
not so much. We don't want to vote for that. Fight for
Right.
that.
And if you don't think it's a fight, go back and watch Eyes on the Prize. It is an amazing series. You can find the episodes on YouTube or on your PBS station. Eyes on the Prize documents the civil rights struggle, right? From the 50s right up through the turbulent 70s. And you'll see exactly what African Americans went through just trying to get the basic rights. Now, the Voting Rights Bill was passed in 1965. It's not ancient history, folks. That was the year I was born. All right. So this stuff is not that long ago. My parents grew up in the segregated South with colored and white water fountains, right? And still never taught us to hate white America. Neither one of my parents. Both grew up in the segregated South, one in North and one in South Carolina. Never taught us that, and we didn't teach it to our kids. And we would never teach it to our kids because Black people are some of the most forgiving people on this planet. But nonetheless, here we are stuck under Trump's tariffs. The price of Black hair care products is going through the roof because of his inability to get a deal done. 90 deals in 90 days. That didn't happen, of course. And he can't get anything done with China. Bessick came out the other day and said that the talks with China are mostly stalled. But if you think about it, a lot of these products like the hair weaves, the hair wigs, these things, the products themselves that we use for hair extensions and those things which are heavily utilized in the Black community and the white community too, because white women are getting weaves and extensions as well. Those prices are going through the roof. So again, women impacted disproportionately and Black women especially taking it hard through the Trump tariffs. And
Yeah, less discretionary income. So that really matters. I think. I mean, my white guy story was talking to a white woman friend who's well off, and she's literally in the shopping center speaking to me, so I can hear her at the automatic checkout because I can hear the thing going $2.99, and all this and that. And I joke with her and like, oh, I need an on-the-spot read on the price of eggs. Were they up or down? What's really going on at the grocery store down in the South? She said,
Right.
Brock, you know what? To be honest, I'm embarrassed to say this. I don't even look at the prices. It doesn't matter to me.
Just
It's like,
swipe
it's
it.
not going to change. Yeah, I just
Just
throw it in the
swipe it.
bag. Yeah, didn't even matter. Didn't even look. Don't even know whether the eggs are up or down. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's affluent white America, right?
How long till she gets pissed off and
Right?
says enough is enough?
It's going to be pretty far. It's going to
How
take
expensive do
It's gonna
groceries
take
have
a
to get?
while. We could have. I'm trying to get her on the show. She would be a whole episode. She has the most interesting spectrum of viewpoints. Some ultra right, some ultra left, and I don't know how she keeps
Really?
them in one brain. And I tell her, like, how do you pull that off? The other quick hit, because we're right up against it, I'm going to give you a quick hit. So what I'm watching right now, I'm curious. You mentioned you're watching Vietnam. I'm watching, and I wonder if this is a white person thing, Black person thing, because I'm watching Handmaid's Tale,
Okay.
most current season.
Okay.
2 years ago, before we did the podcast, my wife was like saying, Trump's is taking us down this road. Like, if he wins, like, this is gonna be Handmaid's Tale, Gilead. Like, and I didn't know what she was talking about. I'd never watched the show. I viewed it as like a woman's show and like
That's what I always.
Why do I want to watch that? She literally assigned me to watch Handmaid's Tale. So I've watched it all the way through. I've now logged back into Hulu. I'm going to basically zip through the season. So I don't know if that's just a white person stuff. That's definitely, men need to see it.
Okay.
It's, it's extreme, but it's fucking depressing and scared and
Sure.
scary. But women are thinking this way. It's about women losing all their rights, basically, in a society. That's what the
I'll
storyline.
jump on and watch, and we can discuss.
So I'm gonna sign you. I'm gonna sign you that one. It got
All
me to
right.
thinking about how shitty we left it for Afghani women when we pulled out.
Oh, yeah.
Just think about how we sent their lives back. Maybe a full century. We basically kicked them from the 20th century to like the 900,
Right.
900, the year 1200 or 900, like the Dark
Right.
Ages. But anyway, so that's my latest. And for the viewers, if you haven't watched Handmaid's Tale, especially for men, whew,
Check
it's
it
a
out.
tough watch, but it's very well done.
I'm on
What
it.
do you got for me? You got the
I'm on
Vietnam
it.
show?
Yeah, the Vietnam show is pretty interesting, man, because I'm seeing a lot of parallels between, what we're going through right now and a lot of the turbulence that was back then. A lot of it based on race, but a lot of it based on, the government and its inability to relate to the people and give the people what they want. There was a song that came out back then called Got to Give the people what they want. And a lot of the music, when we go back to the 60s and 70s, was based on what was happening in the streets. And if you remember, we talked a couple of weeks ago on the pod, and I said things won't change in the Black community until the music changes, until the art changes, and people start realizing what exactly is going on and start fighting for it. I sent you that clip from Omaha today about the showdown with the sheriffs and police officers in Omaha.
Woo, that was a serious. That guy got up. Was that at a town hall meeting?
Yes, yes. After a 19-year-old unarmed African American young man was killed, and the quote was from the African American civil rights advocate there was, "Stop killing our kids so we can act civilized." Right? Because if you keep killing our kids, we're going to lose our civility and we're going to take it into our own hands.
Yeah, said it right to the mayor. Take out the trash.
Mayor, yeah. Take
Hire
out the trash. We will.
decent policemen,
Yep.
or basically shit's gonna get ugly
We're gonna
around
have a
here.
problem. Yep. And remember, Omaha just elected a Democratic mayor there, right? A 20-point swing, from the last election when Trump was in office, and that candidate won, and now they've got a Democrat in office there. So
That'll be interesting to watch, because you know how it goes, right? Sometimes the pendulum will swing maybe to the left, but like when it comes to criminal justice and the like, white people want the hardest core criminal justice. Everyone's so afraid of any crime that
right.
civil rights and other shit goes out the window. I mean, that's where racism rears its ugliest head, first and foremost. But I'd be curious to see if a new mayor can make any changes, because there's usually a lot of resistance to change.
Man. Yes, indeed. All right, we'll keep an eye on it and let you know, folks. Thanks for joining us again this Sunday afternoon. Brock, always a pleasure.
All right, Mark, good to talk to you. Talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Peace.